Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dennae Handford, and my wife, Dennae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. On the podcast with us today is Billy Keels. Billy, welcome to the podcast.
Dan, thanks so much for being here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Hi, Billy. We appreciate you sitting down and talking with us. And we'd like for you to get our interview started by telling us a little bit about your background as an entrepreneur and also where your current focus is.
Sure, Dennae, and it's a pleasure to be here with you too as well. So I guess where I am in terms of an entrepreneur, I've been in an entrepreneurial path over the last about 3.5 years now. I am someone who is, during the day, I've spent a lot of time in the corporate world, and I found this passion for being able to, number one, invest in cash flowing assets. And something that I never, ever expected, which has started me on my entrepreneurial journey, is actually helping other people get closer to their goals and dreams financially through investing in cash flowing assets as well. And one of the things that I'm really focused on now is continuing to build out the KeepOnCashflow tribe and getting to connect with more people around the globe and helping them understand the power of U.S.-based cash flowing assets.
So where are most of your investors located? Are they mostly located in Europe, which is where you're located, or are they more stateside?
I'm glad you asked that question. So I'm an American from Columbus, Ohio, but I am, yes, as you mentioned, I'm living in Barcelona, Spain. I've been living in Europe between Italy, France, and Spain for the last 17 years. And right now, the majority, about 60% of our investors are based in Europe. There's about 35% in the United States and a few people outside of that between Asia and Latin America.
What are some of the ways that you find your investors that obviously the majority of them are basically close near you, so I'm assuming it's just part of your circle of influence that you're finding most of them?
You know what? Yes. So that was where it initially started. So was actually with friends and family. As most times it starts that way, and just friends that are here in Europe that I was telling them a lot about what I was doing, investing in real estate back in the United States, what they thought was absolutely crazy. Right? Because there's thousands of kilometers or miles between where I live and where my properties are. But as I started explaining to them, I guess I realized that I was explaining and transmitting my excitement. And they were also seeing a lot of the different numbers and things like that because they were friends. And I thought, well, hey, I'll share it with them. And one thing led to the next. And my first investors were actually based outside of the United States, so between Italy and Spain. And it's kind of gone and built since then. And from
How challenging is it for you to try to find properties in the United States to invest in when you're so far away?
Well, in the beginning, it wasn't difficult at all because I didn't have any process. So I was basically I found places where my family lived, and that's definitely not the way I would recommend anyone who wants to build a business to do that. But I've learned through trial and error in the beginning, but also got a mentor and really helped to pave the path for me. So that helped a lot. But now, because of the process that I have in place, I realize it's about me being very clear on I know what I want to do, which is basically invest in cash flowing assets and invest for cash flow. And then I know the locations where I can actually find those types of cash flowing assets. And then afterwards, it's about being able to build the team. So although I started out probably in the wrong way, once I got working with the mentor, got the clear process in place, you know what, Dan, it's not really that difficult now because I really rely on my team a lot. Really rely on my team a lot. I just need to pick the right market or the right location and then work with the right team and invest a lot of time and energy in making sure that I am teaming up with the right people or the right companies.
I mean, I guess it's kind of the same concepts that, happen when you're talking about, somebody who's maybe in California that's investing in, Atlanta or something like that. It's kind of a same distance issue. So you got to kind of put some of the same strategies in place and systems in place to, make sure that you can still put the right team in place locally and have that boots on the ground.
Yeah, without a doubt. I love your example because it's very much because a lot of times people talk about international investing and long distance investing. And I kind of say, well, what's the difference between a rabbit and a hare, right? It depends, but they both kind of jump around and one has longer ears than the other. But at the end of the day, they're both very similar creatures. And I guess the difference would be is how do I explain, especially to people that are outside of the United States. The distance thing is pretty much a given, but sometimes you have to walk people through the different political, economical, or cultural differences so that they understand why U.S.-based real estate can be one of the vehicles that helps them attain and get to their goals.
So let's shift here a little bit and talk about a tough decision that you've had along this process, and creating this this culture that you're creating, and talk about a tough decision that you had to make. And I like to start you off with one that's called I call it the sore thumb tough decision. So it's a tough decision that was really hard to make, but it didn't have the best outcome, but you learned a lot through it. So what are some of those lessons that you maybe learned through that tough decision, and what is that tough decision?
So I'm thinking about when I learned how to ride a bike, right? In the beginning, kind of fell a lot. Then it got to a certain point where I'd fallen and gained my balance. And then I started just riding and never started thinking about it. So, and I think most people, we can relate to that, right? But I guess one of the things that happened is when I think about real estate investing, and I take it back to there was a certain point where I had been riding so much, especially in the beginning. It was the first 3 properties, and I'd actually gotten probably a little bit too confident. And I'd overlooked in the 3rd property that I purchased, I'd overlooked the home inspection report and really what was written in the home inspection report, right? I was just used to getting on the bike because I purchased I made 3 different purchases in 18 months and doing that from Spain. And I got lazy. And as a result of that, I saw this deal look too good to be true, but I'd followed my home inspections. But the decision that I made was to actually buy the property and move forward because it fit into what I was looking for in terms of pro forma returns and all this kind of stuff. But the problem was there were some pipe issues as well as a roof issue that I completely overlooked. And Dennae and Dan, by making that decision, it was kind of another decision to make, but I learned a valuable lesson because that decision to purchase that property about 11 to 13 months later, it cost me about $25,000 because there were issues with the roof and there were issues with the piping or the sewage. And I guess I was really, really frustrated and upset because, some of that was in the inspection report and I was just not disciplined enough to read through it because I'd read through it in number 1 and number 2, but that ended up costing me $25,000 approximately, right? And I guess as a result of that, what it made me do is just double down, go back through. If there's a deal that looks too good to be true on the pro forma, it's really to dig in, ask why, really understand why. And definitely if I've already paid to have a home inspection report, I need to read that inspection report. And I need to make sure that now, the legal team reads the inspection report for me so that I can at least try to minimize those 25,000, or sometimes now they can even be bigger, learning opportunities, I guess is what I like to call them at this point.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, what are some of the lessons that you learned through, another tough decision that you had that maybe had a really good and positive outcome?
I'd always been like most probably people, I'd always been taught that you don't talk to strangers and you never mix friends and money, and you definitely don't mix family and money. And so when I was learning more about real estate and investing long distance real estate, living in Europe and investing back in the United States, and as I mentioned before, I was sharing that with like friends of mine here, and I was really, really torn because I actually had 3 different friends in about 4 to 6 months difference, 3 different friends in 3 different places that asked to invest with me. And I told them no, right? Each time I said, well, no, because number 1, I didn't need their capital. I had my own capital. At least that's what my mindset was back then. And I'd always been taught, don't mix friends, family, or money. And after a while and listening to these friends, and I realized, well, why are these 3 friends really asking me this? And then I realized they were asking because they saw that there was an opportunity for them in the opportunities that I was moving forward with in real estate. And so I probably lost a lot of sleep, but then after I got the right legal counsel and tax counsel, I made the tough decision to actually accept friends to invest with me in opportunities. And I kind of broke through that. And as a result, when that first friend invested with me, then I realized when I could tell the story and I'd gone through and I'd answered the difficult questions like what happens to me if I pass away, what happens to their capital and things like that, I realized that, I'm actually helping this person get close to their goals. And since then, I've been able to work with other friends and family members and other people that I didn't even know. So by actually getting through that fear that I had in my own mind, I've now been able to go out and connect with a lot more people and help them get closer to their goals.
What is one of the number one things that you enjoy the most about the whole real estate investing thing that you're doing now?
There's so many different things. I guess one, I mean, there's,
that wasn't like part of the interview.
No, Dan, I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, I love the fact that I get to use a lot of the team building skills that I have and have used from a corporate job in the last 20 years. I can use those, build teams, actually see that we're providing housing for people. So that makes me feel good when I can also see that real estate and investing through cash flowing assets is actually now bringing other people closer to me. It's kind of like I'm a part of them getting closer to their own personal dreams, right? And that's a different feeling than working in a big multinational and selling multi-million euro or dollar software solutions. Like that has one feeling, but it actually makes me feel good in my stomach and in my heart and puts a smile on my face that these things are coming as a result of investing in real estate. So sorry I didn't give you just one, but I mean, there's so many different things that get me excited and happy about real estate. That
I mean, that's a big responsibility. I mean, it's exciting when you can do that, but it's a big responsibility.
Definitely. And that was one of those things that made me afraid, I guess, in the beginning, because I thought, well, what happens if this gets messed up? Like, I don't want to lose my friendship over this. And it's something that it is a lot of responsibility and something that I take I take it to heart. Right? Because I go to bed knowing that I have friends and family and other people that I didn't know like a year ago. I have their dreams in my hand. And so I want to make sure that I'm delivering on my promise and over-delivering where possible. So,
Billy, could you talk a little bit about some of the strategies that you use when you are facing a difficult decision?
Sure. One of the things that I have learned to do is when there's a difficult decision to make or a response, I really want to take time away. I try to remove the feeling of a reaction, although I think we all innately move from emotion, and then we have the logic that kind of helps us to justify whatever actions we make. But I try to take a moment away before I make the right decision. And typically, I like to get someone who is a confidant. I like to get their point of view just to help me. It doesn't mean that because I get their point of view that I'm going to do what they say, but it helps to counterbalance maybe what I'm feeling in my stomach or in my heart and what I'm starting to analyze myself. So I think those will be the two things, kind of take a step away and also get someone that has a trusted advisor or confidant to give me their point of view on the tough decision that I'm gonna make, and think of some of the impacts that decision could have.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and hear from one of our show sponsors. When we come back, we'll talk to Billy about some of his favorites as it relates to his life as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HanfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HanfordCapital.com. And we are back with Billy Keels, and we're going through a series of quick questions and answers that we call the trifecta. And Billy, I want you to get us started with your favorite technology that you use in business that helps make your life easier every day.
One of the things that not only makes my life easier, but it makes it so much better. There is an application that I use on my iPhone, on my iPad, and on my MacBook Pro, and it's Zoom. It is one of the best ways for somebody who is building relationships with people around the globe to literally like connect, not just voice, but actually from any of those devices, just to get on the phone and have like a 30-minute conversation with people and really look them in the eye and see what they're like and where they are. And I've become a really, really big fan of Zoom as an application because you can get going and started, and it's really, really simple.
What's a favorite quote that you've heard that has helped you as an entrepreneur?
You know, I read this book called Ego is the Enemy, and one of the quotes that was in that book was by a guy named Richard Feynman, and it says that the first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. I thought that was a really good one.
And what about a book that you've read that's helped you with your decision making?
You know what? There was a book that I read by a guy named G. Edward Griffin, and it's called The Creature from Jekyll Island, and it gave me such an insight into money and the way that money works and the way that it's connected to so many different things that we do on a day-to-day basis, bailouts and all this other kind of stuff. It has helped me in the way that I actually use my time and my assets, my capital specifically, and where I place it. So yeah, that book has made a massive impact on me in the way that I make decisions around money. Definitely.
And what's the next thing right now for you, Billy, on your vision or dream board?
So one of the things we want to be able to do is house 300 families in the next, I guess it's now 13 months. So that's one of the big things that we want to do. And we'll definitely need to work with others to be able to accomplish that goal because we want to be able to house those 300 families back in the United States. So by being able to provide, housing for them. So that's the next big goal. Did
you say 300 or 300,000?
No, 300. 300.
300,000 is a big goal.
300 is the next goal.
Great. Well, how can the listeners reach out to you to follow you more, or contact you, or just to get to know you a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. I mean, anyone that would want to, get on the phone, they could do that easily. They could find me at bit.ly/speakwithbilly. If anybody wants to, I had an ebook. If they want to pick that up and find out more about long distance investing, they can do that at growyourmoneythesmartway.com. And if anybody just wants to see what we're doing at Keep on Cashflow, they can go to keeponcashflow.com or billykeels.com.
Well, Billy, thank you so much for sharing your insights here, and looking forward to continuing to follow you as you continue to grow as an entrepreneur, and looking forward to having you on a future episode.
Dan, Dennae, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate it, and wish you all the best.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email, where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.